The first question I want to ask you: politics,
Fashion.
Sexuality.
religion, films,
Nigeria.
sports, music. Because of my career, just ask. Hi, it's another week, and it's time to ask FUNMI. And it's one of those weeks when I've got a guest in the house. Everybody says, oh, she gets excited when she gets guests in the house. Yes, I know. Let's not talk about that anymore. But my guest this morning, or is it today, is exciting because she actually can levitate. Now, everybody who's watched Ask FUNMI knows by now that my desire is to be able to levitate. She can. My guest is, how should I describe her? Actress or actor? I like to call everybody genderless actor, fitness instructor, twerk expert, pole dancer, and businesswoman, Kelechi Okafor.
Hi.
Hello, Kelechi.
Hi, FUNMI.
They said I shouldn't move too close to you. Heck, you glow for
And
the
so
gods. You glow. What does McLean says? You are glowing more than the gods.
Yes.
Okay. Before I ask you the audience question, I'm going to ask is, how? I want your body.
Thank you. Thank you. But you have an incredible body.
I want your one. It is so strong.
Thank you.
So beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, so strong. Okay, we'll come back to that. Let me do my job as I was meant to do. So the first thing, I have the question for you this week from the audience is a very simple question. Do you believe there are soulmates?
Yes. Yes, I believe that there are soulmates. I think what I struggle with is the concept that you can have one soulmate, because I think that stops people from realizing that most people that we interact with in our lives, they are our soulmates, but they're not in the romantic sense. And I think Toni Morrison was the one that says that one of the most destructive things ever done to society was us being sold this idea of romance, because it's not expansive enough to cover the depths of who we are. And anyone who you come in contact with that makes you feel a particular way, they are a soulmate. They're either meant to direct you, to stop you, to make, to reflect you, or to elevate you. And everyone has different functions. Now, if you're able to find one that you decide to spend some time with on this earth, that's great. But there are so many more for you out there. So rather than focusing on just that romantic idea of soulmate, just looking at your friends, your family, I tend to believe, with having a Yoruba mum, that we choose our family, we choose our destiny, we choose everything before we come to this earth. So the family you have are actually your soulmates as well. That's your first interaction with your soulmates, because they help you to form you, what your journey, your path in this life, and then you go on to meet other soulmates. And I think that's important.
For the first time ever, you said everything that I would have said to a question. I was listening to you and I was like, is it okay if I kiss her? You said, because these are my beliefs. I think that the idea of a single, everlasting, usually on a white horse, and possibly Eurocentric idea of soulmates is very damaging. It limits people. It forces them to be in unhealthy situations where they feel trapped. It's nice when it's fine, for as long as it's fine. Then, because it becomes a dependency, an unhealthy dependency. But that definition of it is wider than that, and we have so much abilities as these human creatures that we have in terms of what we can do. But as I said, you've answered everything. So let's talk about how you started fitness, dance, and all of that. I mean, I did read that you dance, so you do look like one of those people, because it's not just the technique that I see. I actually see muscles that I don't know exist move in your back and your waist. And I'm like, is there a muscle there? What is she doing? Because I enjoy dancing. I like to dance and I love to twerk. But then I could never get those muscles moving.
We shall.
What is she doing there? But one of the things I read about that I thought was really interesting was that, after you left school, and of course you were pursuing a career in acting, everybody knows that when you're pursuing a career in acting, there are all these times in between where you're either a waiter or something or the other. And you had a job at a call center. And you said it was the most miserable time in your life. It was depressing. I mean, I think that's one of the worst jobs in the world.
It's soul destroying.
It's soul destroying, particularly for a creative.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, that was one of the reasons where you thought, okay, in between the acting, I'm going to do something else.
Yes, honestly, I was sitting down at the desk one day, I think making my 70th call, because I was doing charity fundraising, and it's not as nice as one would think, because you call people and they're so rude to you. You hear the most horrible things, calling people, and every time you've got to bounce back because the phone's ringing again, you have to speak to the next person, really chirpy, really trying to get them to give money to these charities. And just sitting there feeling so low and feeling like what am I existing for? To do this in the hope that I'll get an acting job. And then I would end up going to castings and not really performing at my best, because there's this desperation, there's this palpable desperation there that I really need this job because I don't want to go back there. Please, God, take me. And I thought, okay, what other thing do I enjoy as much as acting? Fitness, because I used to, I was sports captain all throughout school as well as doing theatre. I used to do 200 metre sprint and relay. So fitness has always been the next thing that I love just as much as acting. So I thought, okay, that's it then. I'm going to become a personal trainer. So I saved up money from the call centre where I'd usually used to buy my baby girl shoes and my baby girl outfits, and paid for the course and just kind of worked through it. Still working at the call centre, but at least I knew where I was headed. Yeah. And from there, my life just kind of evolved.
Right. So, I mean, fitness training, it seems like, oh, anybody can do it. I mean, immediately I want to ask you 200 meters. Why? Because I used to be a sports journalist, believe me or not. And I covered quite a number of international sporting events, including the Olympics. Yeah, wow. And I look at her like 200 meters. She could have been running for Nigeria. She could have been running for Britain, whichever one she wanted. You know, why didn't you ever actually go that way from school? Why didn't you compete as an athlete? Obviously, you could have.
Yeah, I did competitions because I was also an air cadet. So I did competitions within the air cadet. So I won, the regionals and things like that. But I think you always know that thing that's for you. And as long as I can remember, I've always known that I want to act. It's all I've ever done from primary school. There's nothing else for me that compares to embodying a character and watching the moment when people suspend their disbelief, and to them you are that character. That's all you are, and you help to create a world for them. When my brothers were born and they started growing up and things, I would often get them to kind of play with me, and we'd play around with scenes, and I'd be directing them and telling them how. Now they tell me, Sister Kelechi, that was the worst time of our life. We hated it. We just wanted to go outside. Right. But so I've always known that I wanted to create a world, and the best place to do that is in the theatre.
So you became a fitness instructor, and from there to twerk. Tell me the journey. I mean, how did you zero in on that? I don't really understand that journey. So I want you to tell me.
So we started doing the personal training, started getting clients. It was going well. With the money that I was getting from the clients, and with the fact that I was, training myself, I thought I want to do something else to build my own level of strength. I just wanted to learn something else. And for a while I'd been interested in pole dancing, but more from the calisthenics perspective, not so much the sexualized perspective of it, or the overtly sexualized perspective of it. I just wanted to learn it so I could hold my body in different positions. And so I went to the classes, and I'd like to say within a few months, I kind of accelerated through all the levels, and they suggested to me, oh, you moved through them so quickly because of my knowledge of fitness already and because of the strength I'd already built. They said, oh, would you like to teach? I went to audition to teach, and one of the owners of the studio said, oh, and by the way, can you twerk? She didn't ask anyone else that, and I looked very different to everyone else, so that's an interesting thing.
What do you mean by different? You were black?
Yes.
So they automatically imagined that.
Just assumed I could twerk. And I said, well, I don't know about that term twerk, but I'll show you what I do. And I put on some music, and I think it was maybe Premier Girl that I put on, and I just danced to that. And she was like, wow, okay, maybe just teach that. And so I started teaching that, and then they wanted to call it tribal twerk. And I said, we're not doing that. We're not calling it that. So I started teaching, and when people saw that what I was doing was different to what was there before, more people started coming. So that was one class a week. Within a few months, it became 2 classes a week, and they were fully booked because it was something different. So I kept the name twerk to bring some people in, but the people who knew me were coming from social media.
I love the twerk classes, but I was thinking, why would she isolate twerk from the whole dance culture? But when you told me that story, I understood it immediately. And I like, frankly, how you took ownership of that.
Yes. It was a case of reclaiming it, because this was a studio owned by 2 white women who I didn't feel were very kind to black women that worked for them anyway. And when they suggested to me to
Tribal dance.
Tribal twerk. That taught me what they knew of twerk. They didn't know the origins of twerk. That's what it told me. They weren't aware of the diasporic nature of this dance that originated from West Africa. They weren't aware. So for you to say tribal twerk, no, you need to add the prefix at the front of your twerk, not at the front of mine. And it happened recently when I went to Israel to teach 2 twerk workshops and to judge their twerk championship. The lady who invited me over, really nice.
They have a twerk championship in Israel?
Well, you know, they're really out there, really booty shaking out there. And she introduced my classes. She said, oh, Kelechi is great. She does this, she does that. She teaches Afro twerk. And I went on stage, and the first thing I said was that I don't ever talk about my classes in Afro twerk, because my twerk is the original. Everyone else, you can add Israeli twerk, Russian twerk, Ukrainian twerk. You guys add the prefix because you are the ones co-opting this art form.
Yes.
And I think that that's important to reclaim that which is ours, because when I look throughout history, and with the number of films that have been made recently, like Hidden Figures and things like that, we're seeing just how important Black creativity has been to the entire kind of tapestry of the culture, popular culture, what we have now. Yet oftentimes we're erased from the very things that we cultivated. So as much as twerk wouldn't have been my first choice, when the lady said, oh, do you twerk? I thought, I just dance. I understood the importance of reclaiming it, if not for myself, but for other people, because it matters in terms of finances as well. Economically speaking, we can't keep being erased while other people make profit from that very thing.
As a West African, when I saw the popularization of twerk, I was appalled to start with, because I grew up in West Africa where the dance is more sensuous. And you know, it's full body.
Yes.
Although there's a lot of movements from the hip and the waist. I mean, and everybody does it. From the time you're like this size, you are moving your waist. You know, so, but then I saw the diasporic explosion of twerk before it became mainstream.
Yes.
I think it became mainstream with, what's her name?
Miley Cyrus. That devil child, yeah.
It became mainstream with her.
Yeah.
But before then, I'd already noticed it even in diaspora, because there was a lot of Black, particularly rappers, you know, with the so-called video vixens,
Yes, yeah.
you know, doing the twerk. And as a West African, I was like, no. You know, you're making it sexual,
Yes.
sensual.
Yeah.
You know, but it's taking a life
Of its
own.
Yeah.
However, it still has a sexual. It seems to have the sexual element. You seem to want to take it back
Yes.
to sensuality.
Yeah.
Is that going to work?
It's working. For me, I can't speak to other people, because I think that it's one thing to have the knowledge, it's then how you utilize that knowledge. And I think that although some people might understand what I'm doing now, they're not able to replicate it, because maybe it hasn't quite found its way. It hasn't quite permeated like all of their consciousness, where they understand that you have to move away from this hypersexualization of the female body. But for me, it's working, because people are coming to the classes, they're wanting to learn. You know, I did a twerk workshop at the Victoria and Albert Museum, which I never thought would be possible. And then South Bank Centre invited me to do one as well. So these spaces, historically, that wouldn't entertain these sorts of things, even they're understanding where I'm trying to go with it. So if they can do that, maybe Tate will, maybe, I don't know, it can go further.
Because it's the way you explain it. Because I see when if you watch the videos and you see, because you actually write about it, because you're taking it back to what it really is, a form of art.
Yes.
You know, and I can see that.
Yeah.
You know, in the mainstream, what you're doing is different. But what also the argument will be, and this came from a Nigerian friend of mine, like, she's not even wearing dress.
That's brilliant, because
she's not wearing dress. I can see her something.
That's brilliant, because ballet. I always bring up this example of ballet. Ballet is meant to give the illusion of nudity. That's why they wear this flesh-coloured tights and the flesh-coloured leotards and things like that. Yet nobody ever speaks in such a denigrating manner about ballet, because it's high art. But some reason, when I'm wearing shorts and a crop top, that's low art. Why? And I think it's something to do with the body types and the skin tone. I think that matters because there's always been a fascination with the black female body and the
as a sexual object.
as a site of hypersexualization and ownership and colonization. So Sarah Bartman, her labia was displayed in France for how many years? Like a woman's body was displayed in that way because black bodies are open to be consumed by everybody. But the moment a black woman says, actually, I'm going to dictate how my body's consumed, suddenly there's a problem. It's also practical, especially with pole dance. The shorts and the crop top means that I have more access to skin. You need skin contact with the pole, with the metal, to keep yourself on to the pole. So the less skin you have showing, the less safe you are on the pole.
On the pole, yeah.
So, it's practical things. And also the way that I teach twerk, it's vigorous. So you're going to be sweating a lot. So the less you wear, the better it is. So there are functions for it. And even if there wasn't a function, it's my body. And I celebrate when women come to my classes in leggings and things like that because it's about autonomy. It's about personhood, reclaiming your personhood and doing whatever you want with it.
Do you find that classes such as yours, the twerking, the pole dance, everything you do, the more a woman moves, and possibly a man, towards their own body, actually towards nudity in that sense, because part of it is understanding nudity for what it is.
Yeah.
Do you find that it helps them mentally, or even in performance and other ways, in other parts of life?
Yeah.
Do you find that?
I think it helps. A lot of women that come to my classes, they're everyday women, lots of lawyers. I'm always seeing whenever they email me from their work email address, I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that was the job that she did. That's pretty cool. A lot of people in various fields, and in really high positions in their fields as well, wanting to come to do this dance, and they come so religiously. Why? Because I feel like there's a catharsis that takes place there. There is a way that they're able to express themselves and at the same time connect with self that they're not allowed to do anywhere else. And we spoke about this earlier, but as a woman, oftentimes you're asked to be smaller, to be nicer, to really round yourself off at the edges, take away all the sharp bits. And my classes are allowing them to embrace all of the sharp bits and embrace all of you in its entirety. So coming back to self, and I feel like we're all on a pilgrimage back to ourselves. Everything we're doing now is so we can get to that place within ourselves where true divinity lies, where we have all of the power. We're just going back there constantly, and this is leading them back to that. So they often say to me, oh, I had a meeting today, and usually the guy that's always like beating me down, I didn't stand for it. I spoke up. They spoke up because they know they're now connecting more with the strength that they have on the inside. So if it does nothing else, at least it does that, helps people to find the strength that they've always had.
And that's actually isn't that the core tool for being and to living well?
That's it.
Really, at the end of the
Yeah.
day. So I would recommend that everybody goes to Kelechi's classes. So I said to you earlier, because I never exercised all my life because I was so skinny. And I thought if you exercise, you get skinnier. So I didn't exercise. Even though I was also good as an athlete, I didn't exercise, I didn't do anything. But after my daughter was born, maybe like 2 years after, I had a woman on the show in Nigeria then who was 65. And she was the strongest person I'd ever seen in my life. So she encouraged me. She said, you know what, for me, you're skinny, but you can become curvy. Don't you want to be curvy? And I was like, I would take curves anyway. And I started exercising because she encouraged me to. And I never stopped for like 10 years.
Yeah.
I built up strength. I love being strong. Then I fell ill. And I couldn't exercise anymore. For 2 years, I couldn't, if I walked more than 10 minutes, I would break down.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I started looking at exercise not just as a way of gaining curves.
Yes.
But as a way of being well and
Yeah.
being alive.
Yeah.
And so speak to that about exercise, because all I hear often, because I'm slim, I hear it all the time. I mean, it annoys me. People always come to me. I'm obviously not fit anymore. So it's also, so I'm sure you exercise all the time. And so exercise is considered as weight loss strategy.
Exactly.
And I think that exercise should be more than
that.
weight loss. It's about mental health. It's about, you tell them.
Yeah,
Because they won't take it. They won't take it from me.
Exactly what you said is just what means so much to me about fitness. A lot of people come into it for the wrong reasons, and for them, the focus starts outwards. So they work from the outside in. And I believe that we should start from the inside out. So when people come to me and they say, oh, I want you to train me, be my personal trainer, I often just want to meet up and have a chat, figure out how they feel about their bodies generally, how they feel about other people's bodies, because that's important too, because oftentimes they might say some things that seem positive about theirs, but the moment you turn it and you ask them to look at other people's bodies, they're very judgmental, and that means that they've managed to give you what they think you want to hear, but there's still this voice that's operating within them, and if they look at other people like that, they probably speak to themselves in the same way. And for me, fitness or personal training, 80% of it is emotional, it's spiritual, it happens inside, it doesn't actually happen outside. What people see is only a fraction of the benefits. The benefits, most of it, are from the inside, and people rarely will ever see that. It helps with mental health. We don't speak enough about that. People, if they then focus on it just from the outside, they start to objectify themselves. And for a long time, I actually did that. So when I was training when I was younger, due to things that I had in my childhood, I'd always believed that if I could make my body stronger, then I could protect myself and no one could hurt me. So I was really hard on myself at the gym. I want to be stronger, I want to be faster, I want to be this and I want to be that. Never questioning that voice, like why do I need to be that? What am I trying to do? And ultimately, it was trying to make myself this object that nobody else could break. But actually what that signifies is that a brokenness on the inside. So then I had to start again, start from scratch, start from the inside, and then realize how everything can work holistically together to make myself a better person. It's only then that I started to see the true benefit of what I was doing, because there was a mind-body connection that wasn't there before.
Right.
And oftentimes people are missing that. They're missing that completely, because also they talk about weight loss.
Yeah,
weight loss is a funny thing, because what they mean is fat loss. Weight is just the gravitational pull. So I weigh a lot, but you wouldn't think that I weigh a lot, but I do because of muscle mass. Muscle weighs more than fat. So what people tend to want to say is that they want fat loss, and they sometimes assume that because someone is slim, they can't be fat, they can't have a high level of fat on the inside. Mm-hmm. People kind of perceive slimness as healthiness.
It's so wrong.
And it's very wrong.
I had a long period of time when I had high cholesterol, mm-hmm. when I had all sorts of things, but I was still skinny. Mm-hmm. And one of the most painful things was I was struggling. Mm-hmm. And people would walk up to me and be like, oh, at least you're slim.
Right.
And I'm like, I will slap you. I will slap you all the way to wherever. Do you know? What do you mean? Mm. The thing about using exercise as weight loss, or about getting into a particular dress, as against something that you work on to be healthier, and you work on from inside out. I've never had anybody put it like that, actually. Especially that comparison that, okay, what do you want? But what do you think about other people's bodies?
Yeah, what do you think about other people's bodies? Because that's when you'll hear what they really think. Oh, I'm fine. I want to get some abs. I want to build my bum, but I don't want any muscle. It's like, so how do you propose we do that? Because I'm not Jesus. So how do you propose we do that? And the thing is, other personal trainers or fitness professionals will tell you that that's possible to get your money. And I would just not want to take anybody's money in a dishonest way. I think it's better to be realistic, and being realistic actually gets you better results because you love the body that you have. There's a poem by Naira Waheed that says, you see your face, you see a flaw, but how when you are the only one with this face? It's important, and the poem's actually called The Beauty Construct, because everything that we're being sold in social media is constructed. These people that you're wanting their bodies, they bought their bodies. It's all surgery. Mm-hmm. So when people come to me and say, oh, I want the abs that kind of this person has and the bum that this person has, you're like, they bought it.
By the way, they say that my body is surgery and it's not surgery,
no,
so that's different. Not fair.
No, but
because
a fitness professional,
all of them.
No, but a fitness professional can look at your body and understand, because the body is like a map. It's a really beautiful map, and everything links with everything
because
else.
I see what I see. What I see, though, that I know, okay, this is because I know that if you have asked this
right,
big,
yeah, we're going to the same place.
If you're going to ask them, it's big, you're not going to have
tiny hamstrings.
Yes.
Tiny hamstrings, tiny quads,
It
because
doesn't work. It goes, your body will be, so I understand what you
right.
mean.
So as a fitness professional, I can look at someone's body and know the bits that don't make sense. For instance, for someone to have abs, the kind of abs that these people talk about, you have to have a certain level of body fat a body fat percentage of a certain level. Now, if your arms aren't matching that same body fat percentage, yet your abs are, that means you've probably had liposuction or something in that area and you've not worried about the rest of it. So at least lie to me well. That's all I ask. Just lie to me well. Make it harder for me to work out. But other people don't know this. They don't know that the body is a map, that everything.
Do you think they
linked.
don't know or they don't want to know? Because I think that there's a lot of information out there. Because I always wonder when they say, oh, we should stop doing certain things because it's affecting women's self-esteem.
Yeah.
And maybe because I'm just a hard-nosed Yoruba woman. Because what my mother used to say when I was younger, and you came home, and you said, my mother would say, don't you have sense? You know, and I know that this is important because there's a lot of messaging for women. But I think that also now we should actually also start, because I think what begins to happen is that there's a lot of balkanization. There's too much warfare over women's bodies. You know, so some woman wants to have surgery, it's up to her.
It's up to her,
but
yeah.
actually, shouldn't we begin to teach our children, our daughters and our sons, what you are saying, to listen to the likes of Kelechi, that everybody's body is different.
Yeah.
We can get your body to the best shape of its life. Your
you
own
have.
body.
Yes, that you
know,
have.
We can do that. What are those do this, you will say to just about anybody that can help them on that journey to being the best body or best version of their own body?
The first thing will always be to be kind. People think, oh, what's that got to do with fitness? It's got everything to do with fitness, because if you're not kind to yourself, nothing will work. Like, we are cerebral beings. Like, our minds tell our bodies what to do. You have that moment where you're nervous before an interview and you feel your tummy moving around and doing things. We can literally change our cellular structure by what we think inside. They always tell you to start with your mind first. Like, your mind operates everything. So to me, it's important to be kind to yourself, because when you work from a place of kindness, you know when you're overstimulated, you know when you've done too much. Like, it took me a while to understand, Kelechi, it's not every day you must go to the gym. They don't need to know you every day there. Calm down. and so you work out, you gauge out what works best for you. If you're kind to yourself, you know when you need to go to sleep. You know when you're overworked. You know when you need to take a rest day. If you're kind to yourself, you know that there are things you need to do for self-care, like drink water, eat well, eat the things that you know are going to nourish you.
So Kelechi, you're a businesswoman. So you have a new studio in Peckham.
Yes.
I shall be visiting that studio.
Yes.
You know, when I saw it, I was so happy for you.
Thank you so much.
And even then, I hadn't, because as soon as I got introduced to you, and social media is great. I think it was where Wale Gates came on this show.
Yes.
And he tweeted something about you, and I was like, who's she? And then I started watching your videos, and I'm like, oh my God, she's brilliant. I saw that moment where you announced the studio.
Yeah.
I mean, my heart was just happy. Thank you. Because I sensed that must have been a hard journey.
Yes, it really, really was.
What do you think would have made it easier? Because we were talking earlier, and I've had this chat with many business women, particularly many Black business women, and there's a consensus that there isn't enough support in the culture.
Yes.
For startups, for even middle-level businesses, and there just isn't enough. We don't get enough mentorship, not just women, even men too. We don't get enough mentorship. We don't get enough financing and funding. We don't get enough of that. Did you find this to be true also for you?
Definitely. The first studio that I opened, I crowdfunded for that as well. I'd saved up a lot of money, but I also crowdfunded for it. And I think it raised about £1,000 over a number of weeks. Like, it was a slow burner. And I understood why. People didn't know what I was going to do with the money. They just didn't know. And I think people are cautious, rightly so. Friends, people whom I've helped so much, who I thought would donate, didn't. You can't rely on them to be the ones to attend these classes. You can't rely on them to do anything. You just don't focus on friends to help you grow your business. The second crowdfund, I was shocked because it raised £3,000 in 36 hours, which shows just my growth within social media and the fact that there are people out there to help. And again, it wasn't really friends, random people around the world who have never met me face to face, but they interact with me on social media, and they just believed in what I was doing enough to support me financially.
It's not just money, is it?
No.
You know, it could also be and I've heard these complaints from many other people to that. Just basic, retweet my story.
Just retweet it.
Retweet my video.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, talk about what I am.
Yes, yeah.
Talk about what this,
Yeah.
because it's about building the momentum and the buzz around
Yes.
the person.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I say to people, the only thing I'm partial towards is ideas, talent, you know, skill, creativity. How do we make it clear, particularly in the demographics? It's not just here, also in Africa, that we're not going anywhere until and unless we support one another.
Yeah.
We do business with everybody.
Yes.
But make a conscious effort to support one another. In Yoruba culture, and I'm always saying Yoruba culture, not because it's a great culture, it's because that's what I know.
Yeah.
You know, I was taught very young that it's called washelowo.
Yeah.
So it's like when a friend of yours starts an enterprise, your job, it is your responsibility to pay something into it, because you are starting the flow.
Yes.
You know, and you pay full price. Lots of the people I see at your class are white women.
Yes. And some people have problems with this.
Why?
Kelechi, why, you know that white women are the ones that are whitewashing this culture of dance and erasing black women, yet you're teaching them. I said, well, that's interesting, because I've never stopped anybody from coming to my class. My classes are open to every race, but they choose to come. And would you not prefer for them to learn from me than to go and learn from someone else who has no clue about the culture or what these things mean? Any of these women, you can stop them at any time, anywhere, and ask them what is twerk, and they'll be able to give you a concise and informed kind of statement about what twerk is, because they got it from me and they understand where they fit into that, you know, in the landscape of what this dance form is. Elsewhere, not so much. They don't get it.
Yeah. So next time somebody says that to you, why don't you just say to you, and so when are you coming to
when
my
are
class?
you coming? You know,
when are you coming?
Or do you plan to come regularly? Because
Yes.
you can't just come one week and not the other. You need to come regularly. And they're often unwilling to do that. But since Time Out posted or, you know, published that I'm top 10 hottest fitness classes in London, suddenly those people are popping up again like, oh, I just bought trainers, I'm going to come to your classes now. We don't wear trainers in my classes, so we've never needed trainers.
Back to the celebrity. Why do you think, I see a lot of that also in African communities in particular, certainly in Nigeria. We joke all the time that you can take an intern from your office in London, as long as he's white or she's white, you can take them to London. Actually, it's happened to friends of mine where a friend of mine took somebody who was working under her intern to a meeting in Nigeria. And this was meeting with government, top government officials, and they automatically turned towards the white person.
Yeah.
You know, and they were deferring to the white person, and the poor guy was like, what's going on here? I don't know. This is my boss.
Yeah.
Why do we still need that validation? Why are we still like that? But did you encounter that too?
Yes, I feel that Nigeria specifically the colonization's never stopped. The remnants of colonization are deeply embedded within the psyche of the people. And until the throne that is erected within the psyche of the people is removed, they'll always look towards whiteness. They'll always see that as the standard. I think that it's definitely part of the issue with bleaching, even skin bleaching across the diaspora, because there's this idea that the closer you are in proximity to whiteness, the better your life will be, or the more valuable you are. And we'd like to say that that's a myth, but actually it's not, because the lighter you are, the more that you get. And so people tend to think of whiteness as the authority, and they go with that. And I think that that's problematic. So I come across that quite a bit. I think that if anyone else was doing what I was doing in terms of trying to empower not just women, but as many people as possible to really connect with themselves, using fitness to do that, and trying to be kind to themselves while doing so, and having some laughs along the way, they'd have so many followers now. They'd have so much sponsorship now. But I think because of being a black woman, I'm kept out of a lot of those things. And being a loudmouth black woman as well, I'm kept out of those arenas. And I see that the people who do have sponsorships are calmer than I am and quieter than I am and malleable. You know, the corporations can make them what they want them to be, and I just refuse to be smaller. I've spent so many years of my life, my short-lived life, being small, and now I feel that I owe it to myself and I owe it to the God who created me to be the best version of myself possible. And if that means like no sponsorships, then that's fine, because I'm doing okay so far. But it would just be great if people didn't focus on trying to make you as close to whiteness as possible.
As close, as small as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, all I can say to you, from somebody who's fought all my life by being a big-mouthed woman, black woman, even though I'm fair-skinned, and we can come back to that, is that people come to you eventually. They come around to you. You're just going to outlast everybody.
Yeah.
And you build something quite stronger in that regard, because you're already on your way. And with the corporations, what I like about corporations and all of that is that they're easy. They're easily bought.
They follow the money.
They follow the money. So if they see that that's where the money is going to be, they're going to go.
Yeah.
It's the community that I'm concerned about, because there it's a darker thing. It's a more spiritual thing that needs to be exercised from amongst us. And we've talked about bleaching earlier. You know, the other side of it is that for the child, for example, who is fairer, because I, in my own family, am fairer. And I didn't become aware of colorism early, because, you know, you are just the color you are. You don't know anything until other people start imposing on you. And to hear even your relative, you know, close relatives say to you, you are not even fine just because you are yellow.
Oh, wow.
And the resentment that you then deal with because of that. And throughout my career, I've been accused of bleaching by all sorts of people. I don't even answer them anymore. You know, because the same people, because it's still the same thing. They desire to be white so much. They resent anybody that seems to be that way too. It's a dark, ugly thing that we have to exercise from amongst us.
It's deeply insidious. It is. It festers away at everything. Compliments that people give. Like they, you know, light skinned girl. Like it's in songs. Like this is great. You know, I've got this light skinned girl. Yes, this is great. As if it's so valuable. Over here as well, I hear it a lot in other songs, and you just think, what value is there for you? Like, can you eat the lightness? What can you do with it? But it's just to know, it's just to give yourself a higher esteem, or the perception of higher esteem that, you know, I've got something, I'm closer to whiteness, that means I'm closer to greatness, when you are great as you are already.
I mean, I'm going to talk about something similar, frivolous, because your skin looks great. And, you know, my makeup artist, whom I love, John, when he started doing my face, you know, people were like, oh, a white man shouldn't be doing your face. A white guy shouldn't be doing your face. A white person, they don't understand our skin. And I'm like, well, I found that he sees my skin.
Yes.
I mean, and he did your skin today. And one of the things he says, he and I noticed it, is that there's a tendency with the makeup that we do to try and whitewash the face.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we haven't developed true love for all shades of blackness.
Yes.
You know, even within my own skin, there's different layers, different, you know, the depth of it is interesting. It's the same thing with yours. And it shows in little things. How do we develop that love? Not a slogan love, because I see a lot of people do, melanin, melanin goddess, black girl, and I'm like, you know, I can still see you don't love it.
Because you don't,
You know, so
you're just still contouring your nose within an inch of its life.
You know, and all of that. So how do we develop this more rounded, this deeper, this confident, non-slogany love for the black skin in all its shade?
Yes, I think it's a process. I feel like we're at the very beginning of that process now, because social media is allowing us to mobilize in a global fashion. And I think this is really when we started seeing this black girl magic movement and melanin this and melanin that, because people were able to see other people and feel that they had a reflection of themselves. Oftentimes we haven't had reflections of ourselves, and it's then moving away from the excitement of it to something that's truer to self. And I think that just comes with time, but it comes with, I guess, women like ourselves sticking to our skin tones and working with people like John to create looks that are very true to what we look like. Oftentimes I'm really perturbed by how contouring is done to make your nose look so slim. Like, why can't you embrace your nose as it is? Like,
because you can't see its beauty. Right. Your standard of beauty is warped in that. And he would say, I mean, John is a visual artist, not just makeup. He would say, it's across culture.
Yes.
Because he's very white skin. And he gets attacked. You should tan. You should do this. You should do that. So standards of beauty across centuries changes. People are, and we have to also see ourselves as part of larger humanity.
Yes.
That the ways in which we are flawed and we are struggling, people in other, with people of other races, and
Yes.
it's crazy for us to be talking about races actually, because if somebody from space is looking at us,
Yeah.
they don't see the difference.
Yeah.
You know, but actually, if we're still going to be talking about that, it's universal.
Yes.
All these struggles
Yeah.
are universal. So the more we normalize ourselves and normalize our struggles as a human struggle, I think it might help us better on the long run.
Definitely.
There are many people who recover from illness, come out of a bad situation in their life, come out of a divorce, male, female, come
Yeah.
out of loss, come out of all kinds of things, who have let themselves go and they want to return to fitness. I am in that category of coming out of illness.
Yeah.
I'm better now. So how do you start again? Where do you start from? I just sit down and I'm like, should I walk? Should I go to the gym? I don't want to do it because I've learned now not to do too much.
Yeah.
Where do you start from? How do you begin again?
I think it's interesting what you said. The first thing you said was, should I walk? And that's always the first place. Like a child starts walking first before doing anything else. And you use that as a manner of really aligning your body, figuring out what's happening inside as well as outside, seeing how that feels, and then taking it up a notch. I feel like you'll know. It's a case of taking it easy and then just listening, just what your body needs, going with that. So walking, one day you might feel like, oh, I can walk a bit faster. And maybe I'd like to add some weights to this when I'm walking, and just building out gradually, yeah. But always from walking.
You gotta ask me one question.
Yes. So my question is, for you, I've been thinking about it and just all of the things that you do. How do you keep the joy? Because from the moment I saw you when I arrived today, I was just like, you just emanate like joy. How do you keep that? Because as someone who, oftentimes I can get thrown off. I can get thrown off my kind of balance by things that happen, external things that happen. And just how do you keep that and go forward with it, especially in this industry that doesn't want to hear loudmouth black women?
I think it came more recently, actually. The phrase I use these days that people ask me, what do you mean by that, is that I decided to be more like nature. I decided to become, nature is indifferent. It's not like nature doesn't care. Nature's own thing is that you must reproduce. And everything is designed to make sure that you reproduce. However, nature doesn't get involved in that way. And so what I have learned quite late in life, oftentimes people are projecting onto you. They don't, oftentimes it's not even conscious. I decided to find who I really am. Actually, I've always known whom I really am. I think it's to embrace and accept whom I really am. And to just insist that that person has a right to be here. That person has a limited time here. That person has a lot of work to do here because that person is driven by her ideas. And that person is going to make sure that she does the best she can to bring those ideas to life.
Yeah.
Everything else, as I say, is turenchi. Because a lot of life, we spend it in distraction. There's too much distraction. And once we understand that, it helps us focus better.
Yeah.
It helps us deal with, and every day we will get the attacks.
Yeah.
And that's not to shut yourself out from things like, all the things around you, the battles you have to fight as a woman, the battles you have to fight as a black person, as a Nigerian, there are many battles that you have to then decide which one is a battle to fight, which one is something to be set aside for now, and because in fighting all the battles anyway, you need power.
Yes.
And you have to understand where your power is, and your power is in really actualizing what you came here for.
Yeah.
For you, bringing together, you have, in a way, brought together the acting, the dance, the help. You've done so much. God knows what else you're going to go on to. That is your goal. Everything else is a distraction.
Yeah.
And when you achieve your goal, you would have achieved everything else that you worry about. You would have left your own mark. I really like me. I like me.
Yeah.
I didn't always know me.
Yeah.
And once you know yourself, you can you see the things that you need to work on, you'll be working on it.
Yeah.
The rest are other people projecting their own either lack of knowledge, you know, or some ignorance, or some conditioning, or some pain.
Yeah.
You know, and I've got my own pain to deal with. I'm not going to get involved in somebody else's own. So I say to people, I'm not the RSPCA. That's why, you know, we built these institutions to help. I'm there to connect with other people. But where I know that you need proper help, I will direct you towards that proper help, and I will get out of your way.
Yes.
You know, so that I think is what you see. I hope so. I don't.
No,
really
I think it's wonderful. I think that's exactly it. It just makes,
you know, and I see you. You know, when you came in, I was like, God, she's a lot more beautiful. Even in that, your voice, your laugh, your presence.
Thank you.
I want to see that unleashed. And you know, when you unleash something targeted, you know, it's like a drone missile.
Yeah.
You know, it has much more. I won't use missile because missile is destructive. But, you know, when you unleash something in a targeted form, it does something really powerful.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are going to be
Just
dissipated all over the place, and it would not serve us well. And we need you to serve us in that sense.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelechi.
Thank you for.
I want you to. I want to send a special, you know.
I know who you're
to your mother.
I knew that.
Just say to her that Fumi or that said to say hello, and that I want you to learn one Yoruba phrase. Please say to her, "Pe wọ́n kú iṣẹ́ o."
Oh, okay, I'll tell her.
Just say, I said,
she'll be excited. She'll be excited.
Wọ́n kú iṣẹ́.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right, that's the show. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I did. Next week, I'll have somebody else who you will have fun listening to or watching. But then remember, you guys have forgotten to start to send me questions because, well, I've just been talking with people. Send us more questions. Ask for me is the show. I'll see you next week. Bye now.